Amber, tell me a little bit about today.
Yeah, a work day like all the others. Lots of thoughts, things on the go. I have a long list. Checking my list twice, making sure everything gets done.
Making sure everyone's naughty and nice, huh? Well, I asked you about today because a couple of podcasts back, I sprung something on you, which was, hey, I'm going to let you pick the topic for today. And you talked about futurist Amy Webb. And it was really interesting to see that both of us are involved in following technology spaces, but quite differently with different people. And what came out of that conversation was around living intelligence and how living intelligence and this change in AI. And I thought, okay, I should really go and I need to learn more about this. And so I did some background on Amy. And even between 2024 and 2025, her findings have changed dramatically. And I'm curious, with change happening at such a rate, what are some of the things project managers today should be keeping an eye on in the technology space because there's so much activity? And I know this is a passion for you.
I mean, I'm I am always going to suggest this because I think this is the shortcut to keeping yourself relevant. And that is make sure you are a member of an association that is specific to your profession and hopefully a large organization that has global reach. And of course, in the case of project management, I would solely recommend PMI, Project Management Institute. The reason is because they are the largest global entity of members in the profession. And in addition to that, they are a not-for-profit membership-based model that is set up as a community or a network of professionals worldwide that consciously are working to answer that question on a daily basis. So both PMI as a not-for-profit organization, as a staff organization, their work is to remain on the cusp. But their work to remain on the cusp is informed by their membership, and their membership are, individuals, practitioners, professionals working in the space of project management all over the world. So that's the cheat for me, is that because I feel like the question you ask is like, it's massive. Like, how does one stay ahead of it? Arguably some people won't, and that's okay. They will simply take things as they come. But professionals who are really conscious about these changes, and I think in the project management space, we have to remain conscious of this because so many of us are working on projects that are about innovating and developing these technologies and seeing these technologies even come to light in new ways and integrate into just the way of living on the planet. So it wouldn't surprise or shouldn't surprise us that project managers are feeling this even more so than other professions because we're bombarded with it. Case in point, a physician, a medical doctor. You may think that you're a medical doctor if you have one, which is a privilege, I will say. You may think that your medical doctor is the expert in medicine. But let me be very clear, even they will tell you they're not the expert in medicine because it is incredibly difficult to be a practitioner of medicine as well as to be on the cusp of medicine. And the systems with which they work within means that they are limited in the resources that they have. So a medical doctor that works in a province or a state, it's actually a part of the system in that province or that state or that country and its own governance model for medicine, which limits their ability to be on the cusp. So people say to me, well, just work at a place that does all this innovation. No, I would argue that also isn't going to keep you ready because you're going to get a bias perspective because the organization has within it its own cultural bias of what that technology is and how it's to be used. This is why I always say to professionals, make sure whatever profession you're in, you are also associated with other individuals in your same or similar profession, but that work at different places. Because that collaboration opportunity, that networking allows us to all have a greater awareness collectively than just individually. So being a part of a very large organization that is working in that space, and I can, PMI, just from an AI standpoint, PMI has their own proprietary automation tools, and those tools are iterating and getting smarter, I would say, wiser every day based on those of us who use the tools. And this increases an individual's capacity to handle the change in their marketplace because they're a part of an association and a membership that's already consciously working in that area. And so I say cheat and join others who are doing the work and then contribute. Be a part of the membership, actively participating and sharing your own knowledge so that you're increasing the collective knowledge. This is the kind of thing that I think is incredibly important. But it's hard to do because it requires you to step outside of your day job and pursue this on, just for your own success, just for your own metrics. Very few organizations that people work for force them to be members of associations. They might say, we'll pay for it, but that doesn't force you to get engaged with it. It just says, we're just going to pay your membership. In reality, I'm telling individuals, get involved, be a thought leader in your own professional environment. People often think, well, I don't have anything to share. Sure you do. Stuff that you're learning every day has the ability to support and serve others in sharing that knowledge. So look for ways to share that knowledge. I think that's how we will stay right in the midst and in the relevancy of how technology is innovating and driving change. Those of us who don't want to see that change, unfortunately, we will see it whether you like it or not. So the choice really is what will your role be, and what will your relationship to that change be? Are you going to be a part of being a change maker? You're going to be a hesitant, change maker, or are you absolutely going to just be someone who refuses to make the change? And none are good or bad. I'm not casting judgment on that. I'm just saying it's your choice as an individual, as a professional, as to how you.
Well, I'd like to ask a question around that then too, because there's a difference between technology being created and technology being adopted. Lots of technologies have come by in the past 25 years since the turn of the century that were created, adopted, and made obsolete, like almost in the same day, in the same week, in the same month. Like, hey, we're making the absolute best MP3 player that can you even find them anymore? Like, and not that it wasn't a great leap when it first came out. Oh, that's a great leap. But a leap towards, and we're talking about change management here. And I know you have some credentialing in change management. So are there tips for those who are resistant to consider inside change management that might help with adaptation? And, I always come back to, you can read the diet book, but if you're not eating differently, you can own all the diet books you want. If you're on the Krispy Kreme diet daily, your results may vary. Nothing against Krispy Kreme. I bring that up because I love you. But the results are going to be based on what are we changing, what are we adapting, and what are we doing about our iteration of this change.
Yeah, so I'm just making some notes while you were talking because I am aware that there are things that are spinning in my mind. And I was like, what I don't want to do is lose what's in my mind. So I think it's important to remind people, I'm going to use a model that I'm familiar with based on my own change management. But the model is called ADKAR. And the only reason I share this is not because ADKAR is the be all and the end all, but because ADKAR is an acronym and sometimes acronyms simplify understanding. So ADKAR as an acronym stands for essentially the 4 stages that a human experiences change emotion. I often use the Kubler-Ross change curve to help demonstrate this, but I think what I love about ADKAR is it's an actioning model. So the first A stands for awareness. And what is awareness? Well, how change ready are you going to be? Well, what is your awareness that you need to be change ready? Literally. So adopting technology, innovation. This is where, are you aware that adopting it is something you need to do. So as a professional. In your organization, oftentimes awareness is irrelevant because you're just simply told you're doing it. But people get stuck on that because if they have no awareness of it, a lack of knowledge creates a lack of safety. And so awareness is the first emotion that we, or the first action we need to take, which is where are we on our journey of awareness? So if you don't currently use automation in any of your daily task work, the next time that someone suggests to you that you should get a license to a software that's going to like send automated responses to your emails, you're going to be like, no, I don't want that. Because why? Because you lack the awareness of how that's going to help. Now, if you say to that person, I am so overwhelmed by thousands of emails in my inbox and I don't know how to deal with it. And then they say to you, well, you should get the subscription to this thing and it'll send automated responses. Your awareness is already there. So immediately you move to the next part, which is, oh no, I'm aware I need it. I just told you I needed that help because I'm overwhelmed by 1,000 emails. So you then go to desire, which is the next part of that acronym. And desire is, do you have a desire to change that? Well, you've just also shared that you have a desire. I have thousands of emails in my inbox. I'm overwhelmed. I need to do something about it. So you are aware you need to change and you are desiring of changing. So when in that situation, someone then comes to you and says, oh, well, you should get this subscription to this software. It'll help. You've hit the K, and that's knowledge. Because the next stage is if you are aware you want and or need change, if you desire, want, and need the change, you are primed. What do you lack? And what most of us lack is, well, change to what? What? What's the answer? And knowledge is then, what do we know? And if you've said this to a colleague and they've said to you, well, I use this software and it really helped me, what have you just gotten? Knowledge. What do you now have in front of you? Opportunity, because you have awareness and desire to deal with your inbox. And now a friend is recommending to you, oh, well, I use this and this really helped me. All of a sudden you have knowledge that there's something that could help. These actions help you in your journey to accepting whether you're going to change or not. And then the next A is ability. And this is where knowledge and awareness come together, right? So, okay, someone tells you, oh, I've got this new tool you should use to help with your inbox. Okay, I'm aware I want help. I'm desirous to change the situation and to do something about it. I now have had a recommendation. So someone's giving me the knowledge. Now, do I have the ability to make the change? So what does that mean? For me, that would mean due diligence. I would need to go and decide, well, let's take a look at this software. Let's see if this software actually has within it the things that I need in order to solve my problem and to change my way of working my inbox. And in that, I will earn, hopefully, and gain the ability to do it. So ability could be accessibility. Is it affordable? Is it something I can pay for? Is it free? Is this also something that I can learn easily? Because ability is not just how much it costs. A lot of the time it is, do you have the time to look at it? So I was looking at 2 softwares yesterday at my desk because I need to make a decision. I need one to simplify my life. But I was looking at, well, what are the benefits of each of them? What are the pros and what are the cons? And I was trying to figure out which one is going to be the best overall. And one costs a lot more than the other, but the features maybe outweigh it. So this is due diligence and this is ability. Do I have the ability to make this change based on all of these factors? And then the final one, the R, stands for reinforcement, which means you have the ability to make the change. You buy the software your friend recommends. You might even get them to give you some advice and more knowledge. And in the midst of doing that, you don't manage your inbox the way you used to anymore. You reinforce that you purchased this software. And I've done this many times where I buy the software. It's a great idea. Then I don't have the time to put into it. I don't do the due diligence. My ability wanes. And what happens? I go back to 1,000 emails. Not because I don't have the awareness and the desire, but something in the knowledge and the ability doesn't quite connect. So I love the ADKAR model because I think it helps me understand myself through that journey of adoption to change. And I think with technology, a lot of us are going to get stuck at very different areas. You know, my 78-year-old mother is pretty much on most of these things going to get stuck around awareness and desire to change and to adopt automation. Why? Because her life doesn't need it to the same degree. Because at 78, she's not working outside of the home. She's in a retirement phase. Her life is quite simple. And there's a relegation to what is going to be in context for her. Now, as it relates to some things she might want to do, like interact with the government and interact with some of the social programs that she's a part of, she may need to understand technology. Some of these platforms now where you go on to log in, and the login has multi authentication factor. My mother doesn't understand how you have to download another app to then have it loaded to then give you a code. This awareness and desire, she has none of that until it's a stopgap and you have to do it in order to actually get through to whatever you're doing. Even banking nowadays, online banking. So all that to say, when I think about the future and when I think about our need to adopt technology and adapt to it and be willing to make those changes, I think about the ADKAR model, and I think we're going to have to be okay with all of us being at different stages. And for some of us, we're going to be a part of ushering in that change. And for others of us, they're going to contest it. It's not going to make sense to them. And I think that's okay. Collectively, we're all going to make this shift. I don't think we're at the point now where I can imagine a future without the collective shift. But we're going to have a range of adoption levels. And that's just going to be the way it is. It's always been, we could say, the way it is. And in project management, some of us in the worlds that we work in, the industries we work in, we have no choice because our entire scope of work is changing. And for some that are in project management in other industries, they won't have to make the change as fast as us. And we're going to have to be okay with all of it. And we're going to need to be able to sit at the same table and talk to each other about that and not decide that's wrong, I'm right, or you're bad and I'm good. Just it is what it is. Context means we're all going to take change in the future very differently. And that's a human experience. And that's why living intelligence is going to come against us. Because living intelligence, we're not talking about human intelligence. We're talking about living intelligence. We're talking about intelligence that has been created by humans, but that itself lives and has its own consciousness, essentially. And how did that happen? We created that. That is going to be different. And it's going to put us all in that ADKAR model. And for some people, it's going to make us want to sell everything and run away to live a simple life off the grid. And for others, we're going to step up and really be involved in what that actually will.
That's awesome. And I love that because you and I have talked a lot about early adoption. Both of us to some degree have a huge desire to see what's changing and to be in that space. Yeah. If not early adopter, pretty soon after early adoption. But I love because every new technology can be used well, every new technology can be used for harm. I as you know, I'm a huge sci-fi fan. Recently got to see Megan 2, which is the doll created to help parent children who've had trauma. Love this idea. And we've seen it be both the villain and the hero of the story at various spaces. Because things are changing and they're changing fast. With our last few minutes, is there a technology that you've been tracking that you're excited to see what's going to happen with it?
Yes, although I'm not really well versed enough to go into the details, but I would just say, for those of you listening, my father passed away of Parkinson's, and he's been gone now a few years, and I watched him suffer with Parkinson's for a good portion of time. Probably, I would say, he obviously had Parkinson's a long time and it wasn't diagnosed, but I think the last 6 years of his life, it was an intense, late stage Parkinson's. I am fascinated now to hear of the development in Parkinson's research and the idea that there are technologies right now that we have that can be embedded in parts of the brain that will circumnavigate what actually is going on in Parkinson's patients to give them a sense of relief from the symptoms, and also enable them to continue to exist in their bodies and not feel as imprisoned. Because what I witnessed with my dad was complete imprisonment in his body. And the mind was still going and everything was still there, but he just lost all capacity to communicate that well and to control the symptoms that prevented him to exist in society to an expectation of what, yeah, like case in point, he couldn't continue to go and get his hair cut because to find someone who could cut someone's hair while they are actively tremoring at all times is a feat. So I say that I'm fascinated by that because why? Because I carry my dad within me. Because I do believe I could be predisposed to that, and because I think there's interesting things that he didn't have the chance, technologies he didn't have the chance to see the benefit of that I or people in my family may have the benefit of, and that fascinates me. That doesn't make me weary. It makes me excited. It also doesn't make me sad that my dad didn't get a chance because my father's timing was what it was and it was time. So, there's no bitterness there. It's just I have enthusiasm about Parkinson's research. And not just, not the Michael J. Foxes of the world, although that's fascinating to me, but just in that specific pocket, I think the medical innovations, the idea that we would begin to integrate with technology, physically integrate with technology, I think because of what I have witnessed happen with family members waste away because of disease, I'm open to technology integrating with humanity at that stage to give quality of life. I think that's fascinating. But I'm not quite there yet, and I'm just continuing to keep my eyes on what's developing. And yeah, my opinion about medicine changes almost all the time because I'm a believer in wellness and in taking responsibility for your own health. But I'm also a believer in using and leveraging the innovations and technologies we have to continue to offer a quality of life. So that's what I'm curious.
Yeah, no.
What about you?
Me? Well, actually, it was very similar. My father-in-law passed recently, passed of ALS, and much the same in the sense of as the body started deteriorating, it was integration with his environment. And amazing work done by the ALS Society in helping with things like speaking and turning on a light bulb that way, and the integration of technologies that would allow his chair to come and meet him at first, the raising chair that so he could just go from walker straight into a recline without ever having to drop because we forget about how our muscles, all these different ways in which our environment is now learning, it's adapting to what humans will go through. And so I'm very interested, both for families and medicine, but also what is this going to do for our projects? If we can do that for our medicine, can we do that for our environments as we're doing things? What does the workspace look like in a world where we understand ergonomics in a very different way for bodies? And what does, and ADKAR had it best in the A, which is ability, or capability. What will be like people who can't go to the office today because of mobility issues, tomorrow that may be no issue whatsoever. And so I love tracking where abilities and capabilities are changing rapidly. But thank you for the question.
Fascinating stuff. And I just want to honor those of us who feel fear around it because I think it's appropriate. Fear is okay. I think how fear enables us to learn, grow, acquire more knowledge, and choose what capability we're going to have within it. I think that's great. I think fear that paralyzes us and makes us spin inward and also feel pessimistic and or even frightened of the future. I think that use of fear is very dangerous because classically, I don't think that helps any of us thrive into the future. So I do. I feel fear, and I want to say that I feel fear. I have fear of these things, but I also have curiosity, and I want to keep that balance, and I want to be open to have my mind change. There's a lot of interesting conversations that I'm in now where you have real polarizing beliefs to the extent that people have been told somehow, maybe even you would say indoctrinated to believe that something is right or something is wrong, and it will always be. And I think that gives a tremendous sense of security and peace, perhaps for them in some situations. I'm not confident that those same polarizing things are going to continue to sustain a level of certainty for these people because the world around them is adapting and changing so quickly. So I would just say a more open position, the idea that you could learn something new and that that may challenge your stronghold beliefs and that may mean that you can adjust to those. I think that level of agility is going to be a requirement for all of us to continue to want to create a society that honors and values one another. Um, if we don't do that, we're going to create um, more siloed communities and more polarizing beliefs, and that is going to incite more conflict, war, and this is not, I think, our wisest version of humanity to focus on um, deciding whether people are good or bad or deserving of good or bad. I think we're already seeing this in 2025. And I think this is not our best version of our species. So the more that we can do to remain open, teachable, I think that's helpful.
That's beautiful. And that really hits home for me because I love learning openness from my grandchildren. That the things I might have distress about or be challenged by, they don't even think about. They're just like, of course it works like this because they don't have that same baggage that we carry. So yeah, be open and learn from those around you. My grandparents' VCR video cassette recorder for our younger audience used to blink zero all the time because they feared how to go forward. And I think we can learn something from the next generation on how to go forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you for that look into the future and that look at ADKAR. Appreciate everything, Amber.